if you're in the room and you sent me this last time we had a live stream, I just now got around to opening the tab today and watching it, and I was pretty encouraged by what this cop said. I can only hope that this cop means what he says and really takes a look at his occupation and does an about face. But this is from the YouTube channel Questionable Authority. I like this guy. I like this guy's content. He's got really good stuff. And I especially like the interaction he had with this cop right here from Priest River, Idaho. Listen to this. I think it's Officer Brody. Let me see if that's right. Let's see what this cop's name is. I think he says it a couple times in this video right here. I'll leave all the links to Priest River below this video right here so you can contact them if you like what this police officer says.
You guys YouTube or something?
Oh no, I just have a regular camera here.
Oh, okay.
YouTube censors stuff too, so I don't like using them.
What's that?
YouTube censors stuff, so I don't like using them.
I hate it. Yeah.
Right now, I prefer like Library, Odyssey, like Free Speak. They're all based on the blockchain, so it's hard to.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah,
it's hard to censor them.
Banned Video's another good one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Alex Jones.
InfoWars.
Right, yeah. I'm familiar with InfoWars, so.
Yeah, so am I. So.
Right.
What I like already about this cop is he's talking to these guys on the sidewalk like they're human beings. And like I always said, and this applies with this cop too, when they're coming up to you being nice, talking all the nice talk, don't ever let your guard down around badge law enforcers.
Slow night out here tonight, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Right. Well, that's good.
Town, so.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. What do you guys have a channel? Or?
Yeah. I'm called Questionable Authority is my channel.
Oh, okay.
I'm called Unreasonable Suspicion.
Okay, that's cool.
You can.
What's your guys' ideology then? I mean, as far as obviously it's law enforcement related.
Yeah. Well, mine it's not necessarily just law enforcement. It's like all of government and authority. Like,
okay. Yeah.
I'm a voluntarist, so I don't believe in like forced interactions. I believe
so
all
more of like response rather than like proactive.
Well, not even just like how you like just like your job, for example, or any not just yours, any government job. Like I'm forced to like support it. Like I don't have a choice.
Yeah, no, yeah, your taxes.
Yeah. So
thing.
Like I would think like I don't necessarily disagree with some of the services you provide. There's some of them I don't agree with, but like in a voluntary society, like because of the ones I don't agree with, I could say, well, until you guys get rid of doing those things, I'm not going to give you any of my money anymore.
I agree. It's same thing with like the school systems.
Yeah, exactly.
Transgender stuff,
Exactly.
You don't support it all.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to.
You have to pay any of it.
Exactly.
If you're going to brainwash the children for the future,
why
support it?
Right.
So,
No, and it really applies everywhere.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like, so just for example, one of the things that I think is pretty interesting, so I can identify with people across the spectrum because everybody feels like they're being oppressed by government or some authority in some way.
You're saying like far right, far left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think is funny is, especially in this area, I have a lot of.
I'm not sure what's going on with this picture in picture down here at the bottom left. It may be this is video taken from his car's dash cam because I see those two right there. They're right here, and I think that's this is the police cruiser, which has the guy that they're talking to in it. So I think that's what we're looking at here. I think we're looking at a video taken from a camera that he has set up in another area, and it could be a dash cam.
Conservative friends, and they really decry like socialism, and which I do too. That's forced interactions.
Well, socialism leads to communism, leads to dictatorship,
So, but one of the things that they don't like socialism in any aspect of their lives, but the one they'll support like law enforcement for socialism, and so like I said, I don't necessarily disagree with a lot of what you do. Like when it comes to like stopping like crimes that have victims, I don't like that.
It's the problem with today is the victimless crimes.
Right.
You know, it's basically the war.
It was hard to hear what he said right there with that tractor trailer in the background, but he said the problem today is victimless crimes. Could not agree more. I have not seen the end of this video yet, but I do hope that questionable authority asks him, hey, have you been involved in caging somebody or arresting somebody or detaining somebody for a victimless crime? And if so, do you plan on doing that in the future? I don't know. Maybe he does do that.
Drugs.
Right.
Essentially, your cops should really respond to things to help people. When we started the war on drugs, that's when we became the enemies of the people, essentially.
Wow.
Because you're out there basically putting people in jail for something that they chose to do personally. You know, that's their liberty to choose.
Right.
To do,
Wow.
right?
That is so true. When Nixon came up with the war on drugs, which isn't a war on drugs, it was literally a war on people. He declared a war on America that day. Just like the war on terror, it's not a war on terror, it's a war on you. Terror didn't get the TSA and the Department of Homeland Security launched against it. You and I did. And you could see that in airports, just for one example, all around the country with the blue shirts at the TSA. But I like what he said right there. It's that the problem today is victimless crimes. If you decide to put something in your body, I don't care if it's heroin, cocaine, Drano, marijuana, tobacco, alcohol, I don't care what it is, that's your life. You're making a choice for your own life. And it's not up to somebody else to go, hey, you can't operate your life like that. And because you chose to operate your life like that and have that pot, there's a bag of pot in the back of your car. We're going to arrest you. We're going to kidnap you. We're going to cage you and we're going to charge you and we're going to fine you. Well, what have you just done? You've criminalized somebody for doing something that wasn't a crime. It's not just to incarcerate and arrest somebody if they have not committed a crime. If they haven't hurt somebody, threatened to hurt them, take their property or damage their property without paying for it. This cop appears to have his head screwed on straight.
So the big argument is with a lot of law enforcement, they say, well, all the other crimes come from the drugs,
right.
Which is true. But my idea on it is, well, why don't we enforce those laws a lot harsher instead of the victimless crime ones? Because if they're creating victims because of the drugs, those are the crimes that we should, people should have consequences for.
Right. So you think like so I hear what you're saying, because
like if somebody steals from you,
right.
You slap them on the wrist. Don't do that again, right?
Right.
But they can just keep doing it to you.
Right.
If we have harsher laws on that type of stuff,
right,
then we can have a better society instead of having harsh laws on victimless crimes like drugs.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and like
it's almost like it's almost like the cop is becoming the auditor here. This cop should stop being a cop and start being an auditor, exposing cops.
in reality, it's so along what you're saying,
Yeah.
it's the harsh law on the victimless crime of
Yep.
the drug.
Yep.
It almost creates the other crime.
Exactly.
And then then that it doesn't put you in a tough position because that's a crime with a victim, so that's what you're here for.
Right.
But at the same time, like that person has an issue.
Totally.
But it should have been solved the first time, not when they're stealing stuff.
Right.
It should have been solved when you approached them for whatever the drug issue was that took
Right.
them to jail.
Right.
Right? Like, so hey man, I appreciate that's awesome hearing you say that.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, I think it's, in this area, you have a different ideology with a lot of law enforcement.
Right.
We approach things differently.
Right.
Big city, you got a lot of issues because you don't build connection with people because you see so many people every day.
Yeah, you guys
I
know
think that's
everybody
where
here.
all the stuff we see on TV, that's a big problem. There's no empathy towards people. There's no,
Right.
there's no connection. But no, I mean, I'm a huge InfoWars fan. I mean,
Well, no, it's just a conversation like this. So I travel. I live in Washington, but I travel Seattle, Spokane, all in Idaho, Montana.
Right. Oh, it's good.
And just the difference, like you said, like in Seattle, it's a lot different than it is here.
Oh, totally.
It's like you said. If you pull someone over for doing something, it's likely you're going to see them in this grocery store the next day or something like that. So it makes. someone like you, it makes your interactions a lot different. You know, I mean, I grew up in not a small town like this, but a fairly small town. But yeah, it makes your interactions a lot different.
Yeah, totally.
Like I remember I got in trouble. A guy that graduated with my dad was like a parole officer, not parole, like I don't know, whatever. One of the times I get.
Yeah, probation.
Probation. There you go.
Yeah. No,
So,
that's cool.
no, that's cool.
Like
I
what
appreciate
you said
it.
earlier, you can connect to people on both spectrums, because what we need to remember, especially today with tyrannical government, is we're all in the same boat. We're all
Right.
anti-government, and we need to stick together instead of fighting each other, because
Right.
that's what's happening.
Right.
And, especially with the mask mandate crap, now you can see what political aisle someone's on, whether they're wearing a mask or not.
Right.
And so before you'd have to talk to the person.
Right.
You'd have to see, where are they on the political spectrum? And now,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I agree with that, because if you watch those later Trump rallies, every single one of those people sitting behind Trump was wearing a mask. Most of the people, I'd say at least 70 or 80% of the crowd were wearing a mask. So there are people on both sides that have been genuinely freaked out about the convicts 1984 by George Orwell. I wouldn't go there, but I do know what he's saying is if you want to know what people are believing about certain things, you kind of don't have to guess, because if the person you're looking at, whether they're Republican or Democrat, is wearing the ritualistic shame muzzle, it's because somewhere or another they chose, I'm going to go ahead and drink the mainstream media Kool-Aid on this. I'm going to go ahead and believe what the government's telling me on this. I'm going to believe what the healthcare providers and the officials and the authorities are telling me on this. So I'm going to social distance, wear the ritualistic shame muzzle, and it's probably those people who are more primed to roll up their sleeves and bow down at the altar of Jabbo.
Yeah, we're
just look at
identified.
them and see where they're at, right?
Right.
And so this is a really tricky thing that the federal government's doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hankster44 says in the chat room, you can't be anti-government if you're government. This cop is talking about a tyrannical government, and he's talking about edicts of the state, and he's talking about being against the government as he's a servant for the government. So I don't know. Maybe questionable authority addresses this issue. I hope he does. We'll see.
Pitting us against each other.
Yeah, exactly. And then, foreign country like China could just come in and
Right.
sweep up after we fight each other. It's stupid.
Right.
So-
And the difference between Washington and Idaho is really
Well,
amazing.
maybe Clan says maybe, PSYOP. Well, maybe he has a PSYOPed mind. He has proper thinking on this stuff. And I'm willing to start with anybody at any point. At some point, you do have to address the hypocrisy of, yeah, I'm against a tyrannical government, but I just so happen to be a tyrannical law enforcer, because that's what law enforcement is. They're actually out there to enforce the law. What makes that, what's so bad about enforcing the law, Brian? Most of the laws that are penned by political parasites, and that's all law is the opinion of a politician backed by the threat of force. They're law enforcers, and most of those laws are just cruel and downright evil. They seek to take away your rights. They seek to extract your wealth and capitalize on the product of your time and laboring energies. And the way they do that is the end result. So you got the political class making the laws, and you got the law enforcement class enforcing the laws.
Amazing. Like, I live right on the border.
Right.
And literally, so I did an experiment. I just went to a Walmart in Washington.
Yeah. Yep.
Walked through it and just had my camera recording.
Right,
and
right.
almost there was one other person not wearing a mask other than myself.
Right.
And then walked out, literally got in my car, drove to the other, the one,
Right.
like it's literally 10 miles
And
away
on
in
the other
Idaho.
side,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's like half the people wearing masks.
Right.
And it's like, other than someone in this government building over here saying, all you stores have to make sure people wear masks and all that. I mean, there's no law, anything dictating it.
Right. No,
But it's all just consensual.
I call them sheeple.
Right, right.
It's literally, they're just doing whatever mass media is brainwashing them to do.
Right.
And they're doing it. And the problem with it, I don't care if somebody wears a mask because that's their liberty to do it.
Right.
But the problem is that reinforces the tyrannical government, and essentially that person now becomes that influence on the rest of society.
Right.
So it's
Holy cow, this guy has so much truth in him. So much truth.
yeah, it's we're in a tough situation with this pandemic stuff and losing our freedoms. It's not just masks, but look at the vaccinations. You know, it starts with the mask,
right?
That's vaccination,
right?
And who knows what they're poisoning us with?
Right.
You know, now they're talking about the vaccine shedding. You know, miscarriages, pregnant women losing their kids. There's just so much going on.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is the government is getting too big.
Yeah.
And that's where I share the ideology of socialism being a bad thing, because anything that grows the government, like you said, law enforcement.
This cop is actually going out on a limb to say this. He obviously knows he's being recorded because questionable authority doesn't look like he's hiding his camera. And I just wonder if it crossed this cop's mind that if this video goes viral and gets out to his fellow cops and his, headquarters and his captain, if his captain's going to think so kindly of him giving his political opinions. But maybe one of the best things that can happen to this cop is he loses his job so he can get on the path of doing what he should be doing in this life. And that's, carving out more and more freedom for the rest of us.
Anything, when things get too big, they get corrupt.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Nice.
And so, no, I agree with you guys on law enforcement stuff, it sounds like, because it's to the point where we're enforcing a lot of stuff that isn't biblical by any means.
Yeah.
If we don't stop creating new laws, it's just never gonna end.
Well, and it puts you guys in a tough position, really.
Well,
especially in communities like this.
Yeah, especially if you're somebody that believes in sovereignty and liberty and so somebody doing a job like this that believes in that stuff, it's that's why I like that we have police discretion, at least here in this town.
Right.
Is, we get to enforce the laws that have victims, and if you don't feel like you're big on drugs, you don't necessarily have to be big on drugs. You know what I mean?
Well,
God, I wonder if that's true in Priest River, Idaho. I wonder if that's true.
As a voluntarist, so people, well, when would you use force on someone? Well, I would agree. If someone's driving down this road at 60 miles an hour, they're putting other people at danger, depending on how much other traffic's around. But if they habitually do it, if you're sitting here every night and you see the same person doing that, then at some point it might be all right to kind of pull them over. Hey, dude, what's going on? Why are you hauling ass through here every night?
But if you're pulling people over for just the small stuff,
to
find the drugs, which is and you're searching their vehicle just off of all the small. Why?
Right.
Why?
Right.
And if you see all the police shootings, a lot of them are justified, but the problem is we're putting ourselves in the situation that we never had to be in the first place.
Yeah, a lot of the training, I think, at least some of the, in Spokane, have you ever gone to any of the trainings in Spokane at the Sheriff's Training Center there?
The only thing I've done in Spokane is the range shooting stuff.
Okay,
that type of stuff. But no, you're probably talking about people contact.
So the Spokane Police Department is okay, but the Sheriff's Department, they're just for something like this, for example, how you, friendly came out. I agree, it's not the most common situation. You're probably what the hell are these guys doing,
I kind of figured what you guys do, and
but the way you approached it is so much different. Just hey, how are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Whereas there, the approach is hey, you have to. The first thing they'll say, you got to go stand over there, don't stand in this place. And it's dude, why? Who else gets to tell someone where to stand? I'm not hurting anyone.
You have every liberty to be where you.
Yeah.
You guys kind of shocked me. I was almost falling.
Right. Yeah. And so I a lot of people that do what I do. Sometimes they'll get mad at me because I'll give guys like you liberty if because it's not every day and someone's walking up behind you and everything.
Right.
So, I get that aspect. I'm going to kind of hey, dude, you're surprised. Let's have a conversation. So, when we approach and have this is what it should be.
No, what helps is to be honest, the best. Because it's okay, at least you make yourself visible.
Right, Well, and that's kind of, especially at night, that's why I like to have this, because I don't
Right.
I know, that you guys are trained to, if someone's coming up, there are people that come up and do bad things to you guys.
Totally. Yeah.
So, I understand that you're perceived to kind of take me as a threat, especially in this situation, if I'm coming up behind you. So I try to hey, I'm trying not to be a threat.
Regardless of the job, it's I have to go back to the wife and kids.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right. Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
So, and especially if you're, if just how you're calling people sheeple, and I'm not calling you that or anything, but if that's how you're trained as a police officer, that is how you're going to react in those situations.
And there are a lot of sheeple cops.
Right,
yes. If you're just enforcing laws that you're not critically thinking about,
right,
then essentially you are a government sheeple,
right,
and that's the problem. Is we need to start critically thinking why would we take other citizens' rights away? You know, I'm a citizen.
Right.
Why? What gives me the right to take your rights away if it's a victimless crime? If it's,
Right.
you know what I mean? And of course, we have to critically think on how do we keep society. You know, we don't want society just collapsing, getting disgusted, like the
Right.
Roman Empire falling
Yeah.
apart and all that. But it's, yeah, I mean, there's got to be a better way of doing it rather than law enforcement, you know, throwing people in jail for this stuff.
Right.
So,
Well, hey man, we'll let you go for the
Yeah,
night. But hey,
sounds good. Hey,
my name's Corey.
Corey, nice to meet you. Do you guys have cards to
Oh,
the
I was
YouTube
looking- I
channels? Or?
grabbed one.
I don't have one. Just
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm
you have one.
pretty.
So I used to be News Now Northwest. but
Oh, okay, cool.
YouTube, I am on there. I don't like it. That's but questionable authority. You can find me
find you guys on
anywhere.
there. Okay.
So
And
yep.
you have a link to his stuff?
No, I don't.
When I put this, people will love this video, by
Yeah.
the way, for you
No, that's
talking
cool.
like that.
Yeah.
But when I put it up, I'll have a link in there. So
Okay,
if you
sweet.
could check it out on there,
Cool.
you can go check
Sounds
him out.
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
What was your name again? I'm sorry.
Bodie.
Bodie? All right.
Yep.
Nice to meet you, man.
Have a good one.
Oh, that is his name, is Bodie, B-O-D-Y, I guess. So that was a awesome police interaction with the YouTube channel Questionable Authority in Priest River, Idaho. Here's Priest River, Idaho right here. Not very far from it's just a little south of the Canadian line right there, right to the east of Washington State. That's it's the population of Priest River is 1,923 as of a 2019 set. So they got about 2,000 people. Looks like gosh, that's an interesting place. If the law enforcement is like that, I will take that. I will take that as a starting point. That's encouragement to me. Yeah, there's some paradoxical things to work through there, like, you know, a cop who's enforcing basically tyranny enforcer. That's what a law enforcement agent is, saying that he's against tyranny. But I'll take that as a starting point any day. I think that was a fantastic interaction between him and Questionable Authority. Couple questions I would want to ask him is, have you ever enforced drug laws? Do you plan on enforcing drug laws in the future? But he kind of spoke to that by saying, hey, we at Priest River, Idaho Police Department can exercise discretion on that. Looks like he can he exercises discretion on speeders and things like that. So that's I would way rather have a cop like that than somebody who's just power tripping and doesn't walk up to you with a chip on his shoulder, but it's more like a 2x6 on his shoulder. He's got a board of plywood on his shoulder, just ready for his little pride to get hurt. That was a good job, Questionable Authority. You did a good job on that. Guys, let me know what you think about Bodie from the Priest River Police Department. And I will put the Priest River Police Department address and all these particulars right here in the description of the pinned comment. If you want to reach out to them and say, hey man, I think your cop right there is on the right track. Although that could be a catch-22, and this video right here could get him in some hot water. Although I don't think Bodie cares about that. You saw the very last part of the interaction. Questionable Authority said, I'm going to put this up on the internet. He's like, that's cool. So check it out. I'm also going to leave the link to this original video and Questionable Authority. Let him know what you thought about this interaction, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.